So why is it the Freemasons show a green lady on a ladder? Because this represents the ascent of consciousness. How do you ascend consciousness? Well, first of all, you don't know what higher consciousness is when you are on the ground, which is base consciousness, stuck in duality, not knowing light from dark, not knowing right from wrong, living unconsciously. So in order to raise your consciousness, you have to come into contact with the feminine energy, which is the heart. You have to care, which is the G. You have to care to take the action. Because if you do not care about reaching a higher consciousness, you will not take the action necessary to go within yourself, to meditate, to conquer yourself, to master your thoughts. So you have to come into contact with the care energy, reconnect with the feminine, and direct the care and the love energy towards the things that's going to push you towards a higher consciousness. And that's why they show the women on the bottom. Here it is. Before you can ascend towards the light, you have to come into contact with the feminine. And that's why this woman is holding a baby and caring for the baby. It's symbolic of coming into contact with the generative principle, because in order to ascend from base consciousness, you have to care about reaching a higher consciousness. So if you've ever seen this painting before, there is a scary reason why God cannot touch Adam and humanity. It's because this represents a structure of your human consciousness. You are the observer that lives in the mind, that listens to the thoughts and hears the thoughts in your head. God is the observer, the divine spark within you. And the observer lives inside the mind, and the mind lives inside the physical body. The reason God can't touch Adam is because awareness can never fully contact the physical world. You do not experience the world, you experience your mind's interpretation of the nervous system and brain. I cannot touch this. I'm experiencing my mind's interpretation of electrical signals flowing to my brain. Awareness is in heaven, the spiritual realm. You live in heaven, and you can only fully contact the world inside your mind. Hence why there are 12 people surrounding awareness, because the brain has 12 cranial nerves which execute the commands of the mind. You are the awareness executing commands to move the body through 12 cranial nerves. There is only one thing that is really real. Everything else is an illusion. You never contact the world outside of you. You only contact your mind's interpretation of the electrical signals. You never truly meet someone. You only meet your mind's interpretation of someone. You get what I'm trying to say? Everything in reality is a mental projection. You are the soul, the awareness living inside the mind, looking through a keyhole into this world. They're literally telling you how they maintain control over humanity just by this symbolism alone. You have to understand, watch this is crazy, that they thrive off duality. Because duality keeps people stuck in this game, controlled by the chess masters. It's always Democrats, Republicans, my football team against your football team, my postcode against your postcode, my religion against your religion. They want you on either side. They want you hating a certain group, hating a certain culture, hating a certain politics. Because when you hate the opposing extreme, you're controlled. You're hating a fellow brother. Because when you hate your neighbors and your community and the people in your world, your mind is locked in fighting them, when the real masters are above, the ones who created the division. And that's how they control us, through hating another. You think the Jews are the enemy because you're a Christian, but the real enemy are the people who created the duality. Real enemy are the people controlling the system who create all duality. The ancient Egyptians were trying to tell you who the real God of this world is through symbolism and their artworks. But because no one understands symbolism, we are confused when we look at the ancient remains of the past. So look at what the Egyptians are trying to tell you here. one source, which is the sun or the soul, giving the ankh to the birds, the animals, the plants, the cows, everything, and humans. One soul expressed in different costumes. Me and you are made out of the same fabric. However, our minds have been programmed differently, which makes us unique. But beyond our mind, we are all the same consciousness. The one expressed in many. That's why this is a circle, because the circle represents the number 1. Because it's one continuous line. There are no edges, no curves. It's a constant cycle of infinity. We are all one consciousness expressed in different bodies. The Matrix is designed in such a perfect way to make you constantly look outside yourself. Why do you think there's so many distractions? Netflix, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. It's to constantly look outside yourself. But you need to understand that you're a spiritual being in a material body. You have a person outside the mind, the physical body. Then you have this entity who's inside your mind, the inner thinker, the inner voice, the inner person who observes the thoughts and emotions. And this is the immortal spiritual self. So people believe when they die, they go to the spiritual plane. You're already inside the spiritual world. You are the true inner self, not the physical body. And the Matrix is designed in such a perfect way to make you constantly look outside yourself, making you think you are this material body, when you're not. You are truly immortal, and you will never, ever, ever die. Your consciousness only shifts to new dimensions and different bodies of consciousness to evolve. Reality is a simulation produced by your nervous system because your 5 senses are an illusion. When you touch something, electrical signals go through your hand and report back to your brain. When you see something, light enters the eyes and it goes to the visual cortex and the image is produced in the back of your brain. When you hear something, you're hearing your brain's interpretation of the vibrations entering your ear. You touch, see, smell, taste, and hear with your brain. What you call reality is your brain's interpretation of vibration and signals. Therefore, the world is not actually outside of you. It's a simulation produced by the technology of the brain and nervous system, which means you are not the body. You are this observing consciousness that observes the simulation produced by the brain and nervous system. Old Christian paintings reveal God inside your brain because we are all the same observing consciousness, which is God, experiencing a different simulation produced by different bodies. So here's Donald Trump meeting Japan's new Prime Minister, and take a look at the symbolism. This is the Freemasonic Royal Arch. Checkerboard floor, 2 pillars and an archway. Checkerboard floor, 2 pillars and an archway. People are ignorant if they don't understand this. They're showing you they are occultists. That does not mean they're inherently evil. It just means they study the occult. They study the hidden, unseen aspects of the human psyche and the human consciousness. These people are very intellectual. Now, it's up to them how they use this knowledge. Do they conceal it and use it against others, or do they use this knowledge to uplift people? You can decide for yourself how they use this knowledge. But they're basically showing you that they are initiated into a secret society or an occult school.
When we're asleep, our mind can do almost anything.
Such as?
Well, imagine you're designing a building, right? You consciously create each aspect. But sometimes it feels like it's almost creating itself, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, like I'm discovering it.
Genuine inspiration, right? Mm-hmm. Now, in a dream, our mind continuously does this. We create and perceive our world simultaneously, and our mind does this so well that we don't even know what's happening. That allows us to get right in the middle of that process.
How?
By taking over the creating part. Now, this is where I need you. You create the world of the dream. We bring the subject into that dream, and they fill it with their subconscious.
How could I ever acquire enough detail to make them think that it's reality?
Well, dreams, they feel real while we're in them, right? It's only when we wake up that we realize something was actually strange. Let me ask you a question. You never really remember the beginning of a dream, do you? You always wind up right in the middle of what's going on.
I guess, yeah.
So how did we end up here?
Well, we just came from the,
Think about it, Ariadne. How did you get here? Where are you right now?
We're dreaming?
You're actually in the middle of the workshop right now, sleeping. This is your first lesson in shared dreaming. Stay calm.
There are two powerful lessons that you can gain from this scene. Number one is that dreams are a materialization of your unconscious mind. Every person, everything you see, everything that happens is your own unconscious. Your unconscious speaks to you in symbols. It communicates through people and what they symbolize, trying to show you parts of your mind that you maybe need to address. Lesson number two is that this reality is created to feed you so much information that you never wake up from this dream unconscious state. They want you living, thinking, acting in an unconscious state so you never shape your reality or dream world. That's what all it is. So they feed you so much distraction and entertainment, to keep you in a dream unconscious state. Jesus dies at the age 33, resurrects 3 days later. Freemasons have 33 degrees. Ice turns into water at the 33rd degree. And your spinal column has 33 vertebrae on it. The Kabbalah tree has 10 circles, 22 pathways, and 1 hidden circle. 33. There is a hidden message behind all of this. 3 represents transformation. Matter transforms through gas, solid, and liquid. Life transforms in 3 stages: birth, growth, and death. Consciousness manifests spirit into a physical reality through thinking, feeling, then acting. 33 represents death and transformation. Jesus dies and resurrects at 33 because it's symbolic of transforming yourself spiritually. You have to do the shadow work of reprogramming your mind to be reborn again so that you can spiritually advance. All symbolic of killing the old self to be reborn again. The firmament that humanity lives under is your own brain and skull. Why? Break down the word firmament. Firmament. Mental. Mind. The firmament you live underneath is your skull and brain. That's the dome that you live underneath. Because you are not your body. You are the invisible creational being inside your mind, the person who thinks. You have a person outside your mind, and you have a person inside your mind. This person who's outside the mind will die. But the person who thinks in your mind is eternal and will always be eternal. So the firmament is the brain. That's the dome. Because your body is the earth. You're experiencing a simulation right now produced by your nervous system. Your nervous system is running the simulation. All of your 5 senses are decoded by your brain, and you experience, you see, you touch, you taste, you hear with your brain. And that's just running a simulation to your consciousness. Did you know your heart senses changes in your environment before your brain does? Yes, the heart produces an electromagnetic field in a toroidal shape, which means the energy is emitted and loops back on in itself, which means the energy that is emitted from the heart interacts with the vibration, frequency, and energy in the surrounding environment. And this data it collects from the environment is received directly back into your heart. So you can detect shifts in energy and vibration in your environment. This is why you can walk into a room and sense if there's something bad going to happen, or you can sense someone's bad vibes. This is because your heart constantly interacts with the environment's energy and frequency and receives back to your own energy system. This is what we call precognitive ability. The ability to detect and process energetic frequencies in your environment. And this is what we call intuition. So this is Heineken headquarters, and take a look at the symbolism. We all know what Heineken is, which is a beer brand. And what's even crazier is that if you flip it upside down, you get an inverted pentagram, and the 3 E's make 666. So if they're studying the occult, then why aren't you? This knowledge of Masonry isn't inherently evil. It's how you use the knowledge, in a good way or a bad way, to enslave people or to free people, to activate higher consciousness. Start studying the occult, because all these big corporations, big politicians are all doing so. If you want to become successful, you have to understand the pentagram, because this reveals the secret of how spirit turned into a material reality. When you draw a pentagram, it's descending down from spirit to fire to air to water to earth to spirit. It's one continuous line expressed in 5 different ways. You don't lift your pencil off the paper, symbolizing the process of spirit turning into a material reality. This is why this is associated with magic, because each element is symbolic for an aspect of you. Spirit is the divine source where all things emanate from. First descends into fire, which represents the willpower. The will then manifests down into air, which is the mind, the intellect, thinking. Then that manifests down into water, which is emotion, desire, care. That manifests into the earth, which is your physical body, where you take action. Emanates from the source, you have willpower, thought, you have a care, and if you have a care, you take the physical action. And that's how all creation is manifested into a material reality. And for anyone asking, November 17th is the date for the new book of Symbolism. Animals only have a one-way consciousness, meaning they're only aware of their 5 senses and their survival instincts. The animal's thought, emotion, and action is all directed towards survival instinct. But this is why you are so powerful, because humans possess a two-way consciousness. A two-way consciousness means you do have an animal nature where you can only be aware of your survival instincts. However, you can overcome the animal instincts and urges and reach a divine nature. You can look in the mirror, question, who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going after this? And actually go within yourself and solve these life mysteries yourself. Human consciousness has the ability to explore beyond the 5 senses. These 5 senses are limited to the material world, but your conscious mind has the ability to go within and explore the astral plane, the mental plane, and the higher dimensions of consciousness. This is what the Bible means by you are made in the image of God. Your consciousness holds the ability to understand everything about the universe. Plus, you can direct your consciousness, your thought, emotion, action towards things that are highly creative. Animals cannot astral project. Animals cannot go within themselves and lucid dream. These are abilities given to humans. Thinking outside the box has a deeper meaning than what we've been led to believe. Inside the occult, the circle means the spiritual plane, the eternal. Triangle represents the life force plane, the etheric plane. And the square represents the material physical plane. Most people only think in reaction of their 5 senses. The untrained mind only thinks within the boundaries of the material self. The truth is, the mind exists outside of time, space, and matter. The body remains in the present moment, while the mind can think in the past, present, and the future. Which means the mind operates outside of the laws of time, space, and matter, while the body exists within time as it's stuck in the present moment. The physical plane is the lowest dimension there is in the universe. Physical plane is the outcome, it's the effect, it's the manifested world. Humans have the ability to use higher dimensions of consciousness to create change in the physical plane, such as the astral plane, which is the imagination. Thinking outside the box, the physical body, means that you should use the higher dimensions of consciousness, because you are not your body. You are a soul, and the soul uses the mind to think, and the mind thinks thoughts, and the thoughts take the body of imagination. The imagination takes the body of energy, and energy crystallizes into physical matter. Freemasons show a ladder rising off the ground, and the ground has checkered squares, symbolizing the duality of the material plane, and ascending consciousness to the higher planes of existence, symbolized by the stars. The fastest way to manifest any reality you want is to have unity consciousness. Most people have a divided consciousness. Consciousness expresses itself and creates reality in 3 different ways. We think, we feel, we act. Most people think about creating financial wealth, but their emotions feel like they're sad, and their actions are scrolling on TikTok. Your 3 creative powers are divided and not working together. To create a reality efficiently and fast, you have to unify your thought, emotion, and action. Think as if it's already achieved. feel like you have a love and a care towards it, and your body will naturally take the action. Sometimes I'm writing my third book. I get bored. I feel like I want to play the Xbox. But then I remind myself, unity consciousness, think, feel, and act towards that one goal. And after slaving away for I don't know how long, I finally completed my third book. Remember, you only act on what you care about. If you do not care about your goal, you will not take the action. Care or love is the generative principle of your creation. You're watching this video right now because you care about the information. Third book is finally completed. You can join the waiting list in my bio. The next time a Christian says Jesus is Lord and Christianity is the truth, show them this video. This is proof. Go and look at your ancient early Christian paintings. This one was created in 1625, and you can find this in Rome. Yes, Rome. What is it? It's the Kabbalah. They've hid Jewish mysticism inside of their paintings, proving that religion is encrypted occultism. The truth is consciousness. God is consciousness. And this Kabbalistic tree is just one of the systems showing how consciousness creates the physical form. It's what we call the Kabbalah tree, right? And there are 33, 10 Sephiroths, 1 Dath, 22 pathways, 33. Jesus is crucified at 33. It's all the Kabbalah. This is said to be the origins of all religions. This image of the Queen reveals a pentagram next to the Masonic compass. The pentagram is used in magic. It reveals how consciousness creates physical reality, because each element is symbolic for a different body of consciousness. When you draw the pentagram, it's symbolic of how spirit turns into matter, how the forces go through each body of consciousness. Pentagram starts at spirit, which represents divine inspiration, which then goes down to fire, which is willpower. Fire goes up to air, which is the mind, thought. The thought turns into water, which is emotion, and emotion turns into desire, which goes into the physical body, and the body takes action on physical reality. The symbol of the pentagram is not evil, it's just been heavily demonized over the past few hundred years. Inverted pentagram is the evil one. This represents how your physical needs are more important than your spiritual, which is basically the mind of a satanic person. So we all know that Jeffrey was eating pizza. But what's more interesting, if you go to the Roman times and look at the old paintings of Saturn, Saturn is always depicted eating babies. Saturn, aka Kronos, Father Time, eating babies symbolizes time consuming its own creation. And when you look on the North Pole of Saturn, you see the hexagram or the cube, and you find this cube pretty much in every major city. It's even on the Jew's hat, it's the black cube of Saturn. And all of these corporations look identical to Saturn. Maybe all of this has to do with something with Saturn and reincarnating souls back into the earth. Basically a death cult. Let me know what you think, and this was just a correlation that I wanted to share. So here's Osiris next to the human brain, and you can see clearly that this is representing human anatomy. And if we look at the story of Osiris, Osiris in his story, in his mythologies, he died and resurrected, which is symbolic of the spiritual process of awakening. Why? Because Osiris represents the midbrain, which is your reptile brain, the animalistic state of consciousness. And this is the state of consciousness that we must raise from. And we have to symbolically kill ourselves, removing who we think we were, because we're stuck in the reptile brain, in order to ascend to a higher mind. So, the story of Osiris is actually about death and resurrection, escaping your lower mind towards the higher mind. And this is why he's known as the god of the underworld, because the underworld is your reptile brain where consciousness can't really create. It's stuck in a survival state of reaction. So this is an Iranian temple, and if you look at the ceiling, you'll see these geometric patterns and colors. The reason why they did this is because they're basically showing you visualizations of the higher realms of consciousness. If you take DMT, this is the sort of things that you see. When you take DMT, you are shot out of your physical body and you more than likely go to a higher mental plane. And this is exactly what the mental plane looks like. It is created through thoughts and thought forms and vibrations. Very difficult to put in English words, But these temples were built thousands of years ago, and they're showing you higher dimensions of consciousness. If you look at Erica Kirk's ring, you'll see the letter G, but everyone always says, what does this G represent? Yes, it's Freemasonic, but this is the reason why guide, gnosis, geometry, Genesis, God all begins with a G, because it all relates to the generative principle. The generative principle is the force that creates all reality, which is care, or the heart, the love. All creation is created through love. You're watching this video right now because you care about gaining the information. And if you don't care, you'll take the action to scroll and find another video you care about. Whatever's in front of you in your reality, it's because of the G, the generative principle, the care energy. You only take action on what you care about. If you care about money, you'll take the actions to generate that reality. If you care about football, you'll take the actions to generate a football reality. So this is the G. This is the force that drives human action. This is why they say money makes the world go round, because everyone cares about money. Money will never make you happy. Nothing outside you can ever satisfy your soul. And the reason for that is because you do not originate from the material world. You have a person outside your mind, the physical body. Then you have this entity who's inside your mind, which is the inner thinker, the inner voice, the voice that no one can hear. This is the spiritual immortal self. The more money you get, the more unfulfilled you feel. The more material things you chase, the bigger your desires grow. Nothing material can ever make you happy. It's because you do not originate from the physical plane. The only thing that can make you feel fulfilled is happiness, love, connection, and things that are immaterial, such as wisdom, love, and unity with creation. Jesus tells you multiple times that you are God inside the Bible. Matthew 21:12, Jesus went into the temple of God. But where is this temple? Well, Corinthians tells you in 3:16, do you not know that you are the temple of God? Which means Jesus did not go into a man-made structure. He went within himself. This is why the side of your head region is called a temple, because it's the temple of consciousness. Consciousness is universal. We are the same consciousness fractaled outward into individual consciousness and personalities. Jesus tells you, Luke 11:52, you have taken away the key of knowledge. You did not enter in yourself. He's telling you to go within yourself and figure out that you are God. Not your name, not your job, not your ego, but the very spark of consciousness, the spirit at the very center of thought, where thought springs from. That is the infinite life force that is all constantly flowing through you. Jesus tells you, when thou pray, enter in thine inner chamber and shut thy door. This is talking about meditation. The inner chamber is the internal self, the self inside the mind. And shut the door means shut off the external world and go within. Jesus was teaching spirituality. The church is teaching slavery. The biggest lie they ever told you is money is currency. The true currency is not money, not wealth, not success or anything material, but the true currency is time and attention. This is why you say you spend time and you pay attention. We're meant to spend time and pay attention to life, to nature, to ourselves, explore the world, explore the universe, explore our minds. This is what we're meant to spend our currency on, not this man-made, mind control thing we call money.
And that's why you can think with your sexual organs, because every organ is an organism, a living conscious entity possessing mind. Every atom in the universe possesses mind. All is mind. Thought is the power of the universe. Your body is a living construction of a map of consciousness. Above your heart are the higher forces of mind, in creation, intuition, expressing thought through words. Below the heart are the lower forces of the mind, the gut, eating, survival, sex, and your sexual organs. Your body literally expresses the higher and lower mind. When you are hungry, you're thinking with your gut. When you want intimacy, you're thinking with your sexual organs. But in order to master yourself and ascend consciousness, you have to master the lower desires and lower thoughts and impulses in order to ascend your consciousness to your true mind, your true creative abilities. And the way you do that is by And that's why the Statue of Liberty is not just a statue, it's an occult symbol hiding in plain sight. It was created by Frederick August Bartholdi, a French Freemason. The statue itself mirrors Lucifer, which means light bringer, because in esoteric systems, light does not mean fire, it means knowledge, awareness, and illumination of the mind. That's why the torch is raised, not as a symbol of freedom, but as a symbol of receiving higher knowledge that produces your freedom, your soul's freedom. And once you see that, the crown suddenly makes sense, because it has 7 spikes, not for decoration. They represent the 7 cognitions of the human mind. That's why Freemasons use the letter G, the 7th letter of the English alphabet, representing the 7 powers of the mind: intuition, imagination, willpower, logic, perception, understanding, and awareness. Illumination and enlightenment comes through the development of the 7 powers of the mind, but then it goes deeper. Inside the statue is a spiral staircase, representing the spinal column, spiraling upward like the Kundalini energy rising from the base of the spine to the brain, which leads to activation of dormant mental faculties in the brain, meaning the statue is literally encoding the journey of consciousness ascending into light. It's about freedom from ignorance, because the torch is not meant to light up the world, it's meant to light up your own mind.
Aliens are a complete psyop. The word alien has the word lie in it. If you read it backwards, it says Neil Armstrong, the first man supposedly on the moon, the person that tricked humanity into believing there's lands beyond the Earth. The reason they want you to believe in space is because they don't want you focused here on Earth, placing your attention on other worlds, when in fact we need to fix this world, because this world is a mess. Why are we trying to build civilization on Mars when we need to rebuild our civilization ourselves? It's a complete distraction. You can't go to space on a rocket ship. The way you access space is through astral projection. Your astral body is your rocket ship. That's what projects consciousness outside the limitations of the physical world. They just want you to believe you're in a physical universe and you're only a physical being, and you're actually far more than that. The fastest way you can make money is by not chasing money. Instead, we need to shift our mindset. Money is the effect of what you do. If we only focus on the money, we will feel unfulfilled when we reach it, and we'll be forever chasing in this rat race. Instead of wanting money, we should want to create as much change and benefit to people as possible. If a person buys your service, give them 120%. Make sure that you're going to look after this person. The more you change people's lives and the more people's lives you change, the money will come as a side effect of your good work. I wake up in the morning and the first thing I think is, how can I benefit people? How can I make them learn something new about themselves, to understand themselves? And I don't focus on the money, because that's just a side effect of what I do. We only focus on money, we will stress, we'll have anxiety, we'll never feel fulfilled.
And that's why they call it a third eye. The third eye is not a physical organ, it's a spiritual one. If you imagine a red apple in your mind, who is seeing the red apple? Not your physical organs, because they only see physical reality. There is something else seeing it. Therefore, there is an invisible eye. The eye that witnesses your dreams. The eye that witnesses your imagination, that witnesses your thoughts. It's unchanging and forever there, and it's been there through all of your changes, from a baby up until now. And that's why Freemasons call imagination spirit vision, because it's literally the vision of the spirit, the vision of the soul. When you imagine something, you are projecting the soul's light into a thought, and that thought wraps itself in imagination, which is also called astral matter. Your imagination is your ability to shape your future and consciously create what you want to bring into physical reality. If you can't imagine, you can't consciously shape your reality. If you want to learn how to imagine something, then you need to created to be a slave by the Anunnaki gods. But it goes much deeper than its surface level story. Anunnaki can be broken down into Anu, Na, and Ki. Anu was the supreme god of the sky, which represents spirit. Ki was the goddess of the earth. Anu and Ki came together, got married, and they gave birth to the Anunnaki, which is symbolic of the story of your soul descending into matter. You have a spiritual nature and a physical animal nature. The invisible voice inside your mind is the spirit, the eternal creative power, and your physical body is the material animal. The inner soul in your mind manifested itself into a physical body. Anu and Ki never existed. This is the story of how your soul manifested into a physical reality. How Anu, your spirit, came down to Ki and got married to the physical body.
and materialized into the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, your nervous system, that allows you to experience duality. All of these ancient stories are talking about you, because you are the divine manifested in a physical form. So we all remember when the king had this painting done, and it looked like the Baphomet when you placed them together and inverted it. But the same artist did one of David Attenborough. David Attenborough had this painting done, and take a look at the hand gesture he's doing here. Take a closer look. This hand gesture he's doing is clearly the Kabbalah. And I've just made a previous video about Kabbalah and Madonna's tattoo if you want to check that out. This is all Kabbalah. It's all Kabbalah magic. Now, I'm not saying Kabbalah is evil, because Kabbalah is simply just the tool. However, you can use it for good or bad. So, you just know that these are all occultists.
And that's why Freemasons use the checkered floor, because it represents a state of consciousness. It's on the floor symbolizing the ground level awareness, base consciousness, a mind only aware of the five senses. It represents being at the beginning of your spiritual journey, where the mind is fractured, divided, filled with multiple inner voices, shadows and personalities that must be confronted and unified. The black and white squares represented divided thinking, me versus you, right versus wrong, judging others internally, and a state of consciousness that gets you nowhere. That is a state we must rise from the checkerboard floor, ascending towards the all-seeing singular eye, unity of mind, and alignment with the higher self. The checkerboard floor also represents extracting wisdom from light and dark, good and bad circumstances in our lives. We have to extract wisdom and transform ourselves from this. Don't get it twisted, some Freemasons are evil, but the symbolism itself is neutral, because knowledge is not good or evil, it's how you use it. And that's why understanding symbols matter, and that's exactly what the Book of Symbolism is here to teach.
Your body is the earth, and if you don't think so, you can stay lost in the matrix. The body is a piece of technology that runs a simulation to your consciousness. We never truly encounter the external world. Everything we feel, we touch, is the brain's interpretation of electrical signals going through our nervous system. We don't hear with our ear. What we hear is our brain's interpretation of the vibration entering our ear. You touch, taste, smell, hear, and see with your brain. Reality is a simulation produced by the physical body. The mainstream media wants you to think that you are inside this universe and you are experiencing the universe. But in fact, you are the universe creating the universe right now. They want you to think reality was created and now you're just experiencing it, when in fact it's the complete opposite. Reality is not fixed, it's malleable. We, as a collective, change and generate the universe. Creation is never ending. Your mind, emotions, thoughts, all of these things exist outside of time, space, and matter. Your higher consciousness uses the body as a vessel to interact with the 3D world. This is why the occult says mind over matter, the internal world controlling the external world. Do not let the external world control you. If you want to succeed in life, you have to understand this one thing. There is an energy field all around you. Science tells you this. But what they don't tell you is that there is a field of mind surrounding you. The mind is not the brain. The brain is a physical manifestation of the mind. Surrounding you right now is a vast field of mind filled with infinite thoughts of the universe. We don't create thoughts, we receive them based on our mind set. Whatever we set our mind to. And the pineal gland is the radio receiver for this mental field and how we interact with the mental field. The way thoughts express themselves is like a tree pattern. If you set your mind to the thought of a triangle, that triangle is linked like a chain to another thought, to the number 3, for example. Then the number 3 will lead you to another thought, for example, thought, emotion, action. Then that will lead to another thought, which will lead to creation, how you create. So thoughts act like a chain effect. You think of one and it opens up a branch to all the related character of thoughts. Therefore, if you start to set your mind on negative things, you will lead yourself down a chain of thought to all the negative possible outcomes to the character of that thought. Before I present a lecture to my private community, Ethereal University, I will sit down in silence. I set my mind on the topic I'm going to talk about, so I penetrate that specific pocket of thought within the mental plane. Then I let my mind branch off into all the different things that I need to talk about, and it will give me ideas, different things of how to talk about it. To the person who thinks unconsciously and randomly, you will not have much power. But once you start to train your mind and to penetrate these different pockets within the mental plane, you can really start to gain ideas by following the chain of thoughts. So here's Jesus next to the human brain, and take a look at the similarities. And what's even more interesting is that your brain has 12 cranial nerves, and Jesus has 12 disciples. Jesus spreads his gospel through the 12 disciples to the world. Your mind, which is Jesus, consciousness, spreads its commands to control the body through the major 12 cranial nerves. How interesting. The Bible is not history. It is an encrypted, allegorical text talking about mentalism, because the universe is mental, and human anatomy and consciousness. Jesus is not a figure to worship, but something that we should embody within ourselves. Christ consciousness. So here's some early Christian artwork showing you mushrooms, magic mushrooms. This is one of the most ancient ways to increase and expand your awareness and consciousness. This one's even more interesting. This is the Last Supper, a very ancient painting of the Last Supper. And if you look at the very bottom underneath the table, you get these mushroom figures. So magic mushrooms reveal to you that we live in a mental universe, because when you take them and you hallucinate, whatever you think, you start to see. Your thoughts change your hallucinations. So you realize that the world is a mental world, mind over matter. Sex is sexual energy exchange. Nikola Tesla never indulged in sex. He believed in celibacy. So did Isaac Newton and Thomas Edison, because they understood what the ancients understood. Humans do not act on logic, they act on feeling. When hunger arises, action follows. When sexual desire arises, action follows. Emotion is the engine of action, not thought. Thought only justifies what feelings already decided. Most people live trapped in their animal desires for sex, comfort, status, and ego. Their entire reality is shaped by satisfying emotional impulses, lower animal impulses. To consciously create your reality, this must change. You must conquer the animal. You must stand on top of your animal impulses and desires so that you can make room for the higher mind to take over. Because when you no longer desire your animal impulses and you tame your animal, just like the ancients are showing, your desires then transfer to the higher mind. You start to desire achievement, creativity, and you become a conscious creator. When base emotions quiet, higher desires awaken. Creativity replaces craving, purpose replaces impulse, and you become a conscious creator. The vagina represents 0. That's why the female body is very curvy, representing the womb of creation, infinite potential that is yet unmanifested. The number 1 represents the emergence of the creation coming out of the infinite potential womb. It represents direction. It is the creation expression without the infinity. Creation only happens when the 0 and 1 meet together. This is the binary code of reality. This is why the genital areas of the male and female body represent 0 and 1, which are the 2 codes that come together to create order and creation. The 0 and the 1 come together to give birth to a new child, a new creation. Your human body is encoded with the binary code of reality itself. 0s and 1s. Infinite potential manifested into order. Follow for more esoteric insights. Reality is a simulation produced by your nervous system, because your 5 senses are an illusion. When you touch something, electrical signals go through your hand and report back to your brain. When you see something, light enters the eyes and it goes to the visual cortex, and the image is produced in the back of your brain. When you hear something, you're hearing your brain's interpretation of the vibrations entering your ear. You touch, see, smell, taste, and hear with your brain. What you call reality is your brain's interpretation of vibration and signals. Therefore, the world is not actually outside of you. It's a simulation produced by the technology of the brain and nervous system, which means you are not the body. You are this observing consciousness that observes the simulation produced by the brain and nervous system. Old Christian paintings reveal God inside your brain, because we are all the same observing consciousness, which is God, experiencing a different simulation produced by different bodies. We are God experiencing himself in multiplicity and division. Follow to stay conscious. English language is filled with hidden spells. This is why in school they teach you to say the vowels in this particular order. A, E, I, O, U. Because as a child from the age 0 to the age 7, your subconscious mind is wide open to programming. So they make you repeat the vowels as A, E, I, O, U to subconsciously teach you and make you believe that you owe them, that you serve someone else, that you are a servant to the government. They want you to be a slave, and they program you from the very beginning of your life to do this. This Freemasonic artwork shows you the secret of how consciousness comes down into a physical reality. So if we look at the very top, we see an all-seeing eye. This represents the eye behind your thoughts, emotions, and actions. The one who hears the voice in your head, who hears the thoughts, the one who feels feelings. This witness never changes. It is singular. It is oneness. It is the I am within us. But consciousness, to experience itself, it has to localize, it has to gain perception. And the moment perception is created, the mind is formed. So the sense of self, the awareness, creates the mind. And the mind is dual, because the mind is positive or negative. It loves to label things. Okay, this is why you see these two pillars, the masculine and the feminine. The mind labels reality as good as evil, light and dark, right and wrong. Everything now exists inside this dual realm. That is why there is a checkerboard floor on the floor. It represents the physical world, hot and cold, day and night, good and evil. But here's the truth hidden in the symbol. All of it comes from one. The board looks divided, but it is one floor in the same way. We all share the one same witnessing consciousness. We are all the same consciousness divided into separate bodies and minds. We are all programmed different in our mind. That's what makes me different to you. But if we all turned off our mind, we would all be this one witnessing consciousness. It's quite scary when you realize the reason why certain songs get stuck in your head. This is because music is a form of magic. The word music literally says me, you, sick. It makes you sick. Mentally, physically, emotionally. The reason you can't get certain songs out your head is because of this terrifying reason. It's because your subconscious responds to patterns. The repetitive beats, the repetitive words and choruses help create a pattern that the subconscious responds to. It invokes an emotion with the beat, and the stronger the emotion you feel, the more it deeply impresses your subconscious mind, making you remember the lyrics. Don't you think it's strange how you can't remember what you did yesterday fully, but you can remember a song you listened to years ago? That's because it deeply impresses your subconscious mind and literally becomes an aspect of you. If you're listening to drugs, sex, alcohol, and partying music, them words are going to be impressed into your subconsciousness and become a part of you. We're going to unknowingly start to think, act, and feel to do party, drugs, sex, and all the things that the music is talking about. Music is a powerful spiritual tool, and it can be used to destroy your mind or uplift your mind into higher states of awareness. Now you know the reason why these rappers are paid millions, because in the eyes of the elites, they're using these people as not as artists, but as dark magicians to plant messages into the collective consciousness. Keep them stuck worshipping money, the material world, and stuck in a low base consciousness and a low frequency. Word of the day is use music as a spiritual tool to uplift you and not trap your mind in base material consciousness. It's terrifying when you figure out the reason why alcohol is given to us on such a mass scale and so easily accessible. The word alcohol comes from Arabic, which translates from alcohol to alcohol, meaning body eating spirit. The modern day for alcohol in Arabic is al-ghul, which means demon. This is why a specific alcoholic beverage called a gin is also the same word for a spiritual entity on the astral plane called a jinn with a J. Jinn is a negative energy form within the astral plane. What's even more terrifying is that alcohol is basically a potion. Witchcraft and magic never disappeared from the ancient times. It's still active and used today, yet people are just not aware. A potion is something that changes the consciousness of an individual. When you drink alcohol, each alcohol type is a different potion invoking a different feeling or spirit. Vodka is also called a spirit, a type of alcohol. And vodka is a potion of aggressiveness. Whiskey tends to induce confidence and drowsiness. Wine invokes the feeling of lust and euphoria. Each alcohol is a different potion invoking a different modality of consciousness within the body. Alcohol is a potion that invokes spirits into the body, but a spirit is not some entity. The astral plane is the form of energies, and when you take certain potions, it can invoke the spirit into you, which is just an energy form, which is simply just an emotion. An emotion is a spirit that drives the physical body to take action. If you drink lots of vodka, that will invoke the energy of aggressiveness within your heart and produce that emotion, and you will act that out. Possessed by spirits is possessed by energy forms, which is simply just your emotions. If you want to kill brain cells, reduce the amount of oxygen that reaches your brain, and lower your consciousness, then drink alcohol. So Bohemian Grove has the owl, but we also see this same owl symbolized on bank buildings. We see this on Washington, D.C., the White House from above. We see it on the old 5-cent coins, and even on the $1 bill. Now, this owl is everywhere inside the occult. It even goes back to Ishtar. You see Ishtar with the owl standing on top of lions. Now, this owl has a deep esoteric meaning, but because we can't understand symbolism, no one can read what they're trying to show you. This is a symbol of the dark occult. Now, what is the dark occult? The dark occult is simply people who use occult knowledge of consciousness, psychology, the brain, reality, against people who do not understand the occult sciences. So, in short, it represents the dark occult. And this is basically symbolizing the dark occult ruling the White House. If you get the word earth and place the H at the beginning, you get the word heart. And this is why the earth is green mainly, because it's associated with the green heart chakra, which is love. It's the middle of the visible spectrum, balance. And this is why nature is always seeking to balance itself and regenerate itself. But what if I told you this has a deep meaning? Heart. This is the generator of your reality. You generate what you love or what you care. You only take action on what you care about. Therefore, the earth is the manifestation of love energy. All creation demands love. If you love football, you take the action to go play football. If you love money, you take the action to go generate money. That is the generator of your reality. So this is why the word heart and earth are the same, because it is the heart that generates earth, the physical manifested plane. Everything you've been told about magic is a complete lie. And if you want to become a magician and create the reality you want, you have to understand the symbolism that the magician card in the tarot is trying to tell you. So here you see a wand, and wands are not these magical things you cast spells with. This is a symbol. The symbol of the wand represents direction and willpower, because where you focus the wand is your direction. So this represents consciousness directed, which is your time and attention, where consciousness is directed to. Your time and attention, whatever you focus on and whatever you spend your two spiritual currencies on, time and attention, that's the reality you create, and consciousness creates that reality. Then you see this principle of as above, so below. This represents what happens in the higher dimensions of consciousness happens in the physical plane. Your reality is a crystallization of thought. All the thoughts you thought in the higher dimensions, in the mental plane, has manifested your world in the lower dimensional plane, the physical. The higher dimensions such as thought, desire, are always acted out inside of the physical plane as physical actions. You take action on what you desire, on the inner forces of consciousness that control your actions. Then you have this sword. The sword represents intellect, because the sword is a tool and your intelligence is also a tool. The sword moves through the air. It's basically showing you the air element. Air is the mind, water is emotion, earth is the physical body, and fire is the spiritual will body. So this is all showing you how you can create reality. This is why you see the 8, the infinity sign, because there are 8 laws that govern consciousness. And these laws are very simple. Rhythm, polarity, cause and effect, care, gender, correspondence, and vibration. This is what the true seed of life is. The seed of life is basically the 8 laws creating a flower pattern, because it's the 8 spiritual laws that crystallize a physical creation. Freemasons worship a secret god, and this is the name of him. I'm going to decode this symbolism so you can understand it. This represents God's consciousness, and it streams down to 4 sections for the 4 bodies of God. A lion, a bull, a man, and an eagle. These are the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. Taurus the bull, Leo the lion, Scorpio the eagle, Aquarius the man. You see this in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The man, the eagle, the lion, and the bull surrounding Jesus. The 4 fixed signs represent the 4 bodies of consciousness. Aquarius is an air symbol, which is the mind. Taurus is an earth sign, which is the body. Leo is a fire sign, which is the spirit. Scorpio is a water sign, which is the emotion. This is God's consciousness streaming down to Yahweh. Yahweh, the name of God, means I am. God's consciousness goes to I am. I am goes into the 4 bodies of your consciousness. The body, the mind, the spirit, and emotion. Every single one of us are an extension of the divine presence of the universe. Jesus actually represents you, a manifestation of God's consciousness. Stop worshipping Jesus and embody his qualities into your life so you can live like God. The church has just muddled this up and created a religion so you give away your power. The secret God of the Freemasons is the self. This is why they all focus on self-mastery to achieving high states of consciousness. Freemasons wear this apron because it originates from stonemasons. Stonemasons wore these aprons to protect themselves from any flying chips when carving stone. But in Freemasonry, this is allegorical. The stone that you are carving in Freemasonry is yourself. You are perfecting the stone. You are perfecting your mind and heart, your brain and heart. Because the stonework is taking place on the individual's consciousness to gain self-mastery and a higher consciousness. Apron is worn over the genital areas, which represents the centers and the energies that are associated with the lower self, such as eating, sexual pleasure, and power. Apron is a reminder to gain control over the lower self, hence why there is an eye placed on the apron sometimes. The eye is a symbol of being conscious, being aware. This is a Masonic reminder of the Masonic work, perfecting the self and gaining control over the lower desires and impulses, so they can climb the ladder towards higher consciousness and higher understanding of the self. Book of Symbolism is now available. So the Vatican is telling you the truth in plain sight. You just have to look. This is all symbolism. But because people have not been trained to read symbolism on purpose, they never see this stuff. Christians will say, oh, that's just a coincidence, you know, that's not a snake. This is a snake. But what does the snake represent? It's not Satan. It's not the devil. What if I told you this snake is the true religion? Yes, this is why you see snakes in Buddhism. You see it in the Garden of Eden. You see it in pretty much every religion. Why? What is the snake? Well, the snake has the ability to shed its skin, to transform itself, to remove layers. And that's the whole point of you being in a material reality. Because what you're meant to do, which is the true religion, well, I don't like calling it a religion, is to cast off all of the bondages so you can reveal your true God essence beyond all the layers of the ego and the mind and the body and the emotional traumas. You have to strip off all of the layers. So the serpent was a symbol that represented the ancient spiritual tradition of self-awakening, removing the layers. But all of this has been demonized today. They've demonized all of this because they want you to believe a religion. Everything they've told you about these cathedrals is a complete lie. These were not places of worship, and they were never built or designed to be a church. These were healing centers. But how do these centers actually heal you? Through light and geometry. Now let me explain. If I shine a light through a geometric pattern, this pattern represents a specific frequency. This is what you call cymatics. Every frequency has its own sacred geometric pattern. So when you shine a light through this medium, it changes the frequency and becomes that cymatic pattern. Plus the colored stained windows, right? Red, blue, purple. This is light therapy. When you shine light rays through a specific color, it blocks out all of the other colors and only lets through the red light, for example, if it goes through the red. So this is allowing red, blue, and purple through. And what this does is have healing effects on the human body and the biofield. So all of this was technology. This is why when you walk inside of these places, you feel high energy, you feel different.